You're listening to Let's Get Into It, the Association of Black Public Health Students podcast, where we amplify voices, build community, and empower future health leaders one conversation at a time. Enjoy the episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Association of Black Public Health Students Let's Get Into It podcast. It is a podcast where we amplify Black voices in public health. I just also want to say thank you for tuning in today on our fourth episode in our series. Woo! Yay! And we are so glad that you are here and that you chose to be with us today. My name is Jordan. I am your host. I'm a second year MPH student in the BSHES department. And if you don't know what that is, it stands for the Behavior, Social, and Health Education Sciences Department. I created this podcast for the Association of Black Public Health Students to be able to introduce the student body to public health professionals that look like them and that want to be in the fields that they want to enter in, while also giving these professionals a platform to talk about their experiences as well as their path and how and why it looks like being in the path or in the field that they're in. Today, we have our wonderful guest on the podcast, Ebony. What? My voice is going out. I'm sorry again, people. I have a cold, so if my voice goes out, that is why. But we have Ebony Rideout, a Rollins alum. Woo!
Yay.
Yay! I'm so excited for you to be here today. And just to start off with giving an introduction of yourself, tell us what you do, who you are, and your experience at Rollins in general.
Okay, perfect. First of all, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to share my experience, talk and learn as we go. So yes, my name is Ebony Rideout. I am a public health professional with an MPH and a bachelor's in public health. I have about 6 years of experience in leading public health programs, coordinating community-based healthcare initiatives, and supervising operational strategies across healthcare systems and nonprofit settings. Um, Most of my background includes managing large-scale COVID-19 response efforts, infectious and communicable diseases as well. Um, I work a lot with marginalized communities. In the nonprofit setting, I've worked with a lot of immigrants, whether they were documented, undocumented, a lot of non-English speaking people, low income. I've also served as a doula primarily for Black and Brown women to help mitigate the Black mortality crisis that we know to be Black maternal mortality crisis specifically. Um, and I currently work for the Pennsylvania Department of Health. I've been in that role for about 4 years. And I primarily serve migrant workers and non-English speaking workers, agricultural workers, and growers in Pennsylvania who are here in the United States, specifically on what we call a H-2A visa or H-2B visa, um, providing education for infectious diseases and communicable diseases to make sure they're staying healthy because they're not typically included in our public health conversations. Um, I recently graduated from Rollins this spring, May 2026. Woo!
Ooh.
I concentrated in health policy and management. And I can say that my experience with community organizing and a lot of the community, the boots on the ground efforts that I've done led me to that specific role in public health. I was very passionate about making changes and trying to help people get access to the things. So I was like, or I had this belief that if I just fully immerse myself into the community, right? If I can help people apply for Medicaid, if I can help people apply for food stamps or whatever assistance that they need, then I'm doing the things and I'm making people's lives easier, right? Because
Mhm.
at the time I just thought like people just don't know, and that is true. But that's only part of the truth. So in my roles, I've learned that, I can do what all I can do, but at the end of the day, it comes down to the policies. The policies are what creates these barriers that people
Mm,
encounter. And if I don't be a part of the policy making and the policy
hmm
decisions, then I can't do the changes that I want to do, right? I can't help people get access to the things. So that is how I got into health policy. Um, Health policy at Rollins was an interesting time.
hmm Hello. And I've only taken one class. I've only taken one class. And for
You know,
context, viewers, I've taken health. Oh, what class was that? HPF 500. Oh my gosh. And it was intro to the healthcare system. That is the only
intro to the
exposure I've
healthcare
had.
system.
Yes.
Yes,
But Ebony, I'm sure you have so much
yes.
experience with that realm. So please express more.
Well, to start off, health policy in an educational setting is not exactly what you think.
Mm.
Is not, I did not want, I thought I knew what I was getting into, and once I sat in that
Mm.
seat, I quickly realized and learned I had no fucking idea what
Mm.
I signed up for. Um, and I say that to say, when it comes to health policy, in management, right? We talk a lot about, or there's this idea like you sit down, you read these policies and you make these recommendations and you just know the public health things. You just know the right and wrong ways to do things.
Mm.
Um, but there's a lot more to that. Policy is so math heavy.
Mm.
You wouldn't think so, right?
Right?
The economics, the finances, accounting. We
Mm.
had to learn how to balance a finance, like a finance ledger, an accounting ledger for like a healthcare system.
That sounds
We
terrible.
have to, it was horrible. It was horrible.
As a person who doesn't
Um,
like math, that
Girl, I could
anyway.
do the simple
Mm.
2 + 2 = 4,
Four.
but when you're talking about credits and debits, and let me tell you, in the finance and accounting world, credits and debits are the reverse of what we know it to be
Mm.
in the actual space. So
Mm-hmm.
what we would consider a credit is actually a debit. What do you mean?
What does that
Right,
mean? Oh my
right. Don't ask
gosh.
me because I can't tell you right now. Um, but yes, but a part of that, and we had to learn about like a supply and demand curve, right? And
Yeah.
so understanding how supply and demands from a business standpoint works and how to balance a book, and you have to be able to make cost projections based off like trends that you're seeing, knowing where bottlenecks are, like all of that math and that all of those numbers
Mm-hmm.
essentially are what policymakers and what we use to be able to make these recommendations. Because you can't just say, oh, I want to do this because I think it's going to work. No, you have
Mm-hmm.
to sit down with these numbers and say, is this program going to be cost effective? We know that
Right.
it may save people, but is it going to save people at the rate that we want it to save? Is it going to
Mm.
cost, how much money is it going to cost the government if all goes well? But what happens when it goes wrong? How much money does it cost the government then? What is it
Mm.
replacing? Is it a cost savings of something that we're replacing? Like once we implement this program, what then is affected? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like what are we no longer going to invest in to be able to support this? And if we
Yeah.
no longer invest in that, then what happens to those people?
Mm.
Whoa, had no idea.
Exactly.
Had no
Exactly.
idea. Yeah. So,
Wow.
needless to say, I did not know what I signed up for.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I have graduated and I've taken all the classes, I'm very thankful for that I did sign up for that. It is a lot more than what I thought I was getting into, but I still want to do the work.
Yeah.
Um, I'm very much more excited to do the work. And now that I have this background, seeing how some of these administrative decisions are being made,
Mm-hmm.
I can honestly say, like, from a health policy perspective, it does not make sense. And the way that
Mm.
they're going about it with these executive orders, right? And they're not following these proper processes because they don't know
Mm-hmm.
how to do that. And they
Mm-hmm.
don't care about the cost and the benefits.
They don't, because they don't experience it themselves.
Right. And I also feel like a lot of the times people say, well, where's the research? Where's the research? Policymakers, they're not looking at the research. No, they are. They
They
are actually
are.
looking at the research,
That's how they
and it's just
justify
so
the policies that they're trying to push forward. It's called
right.
evidence.
They don't look at it in a way in which, well, yes, they don't look at it in the way in which we think, but
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it is because, it's not as black and white as we would like it to be, unfortunately. And I hate that I'm saying it.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are things that we know is going to help people. And I would say one of my classes, um, we learned about um quality of life.
Mm.
Uh yes, quality of life. And we had to calculate that and we had to put a numerical value on that.
Yes.
Yes.
That
And
I've learned that before. And that was like I remember learning that and I was like, this is not a
yeah.
qualitative question. And then when you realize like there are measurements that you would use to measure quality of life and how it can be complex of the amount of like say different factors of time, place where they live, their race, their ethnicity, everything. And it's like, whoa, putting a number to this is kind of crazy. But I also felt like
Yes.
and I was trying to think to myself, like, is this humanizing for people? Or is this like not? Or like we're just looking at numbers. But anyway, continue what you were saying.
But I mean, so learning that concept and being introduced to that concept was so like icky for me at first.
Mm.
So I'm like, ooh, everybody deserves to live.
Right.
Unfortunately, and I hate that I'm saying this, everybody cannot always live. I'm not saying we're killing the people. However, no, maybe not however is not the right word. I already opened up this can.
It's
I gotta
okay.
keep going.
We can have that can still open. We don't have to pour it out yet because we have to
Okay.
get into the how we're feeling. I feel like we're already knee deep in the conversation, and this happens every single time. So it's giving. I need to change the frown format of how I do each episode. But anyway, so just to getting at how we're feeling, I gave you like a pre-recording questionnaire, and we're just gonna
Hmm.
review your answers really quickly because
Okay.
I think it's fun to hear people's like different. So far, I've had very fast different responses, and we're just gonna get into it. So,
Okay.
first question: What were your emotions bring? What were your emotions? What emotions are you bringing into today? And you said tired, reflective, and grateful. And I feel like
Yes.
those of how I felt today. But please elaborate more on that.
Um, Tired because I'm tired today. Um,
Mm,
Grateful that I am done with school. Grateful that I've had this experience at Rollins. I will say Rollins was a very transformational experience for very different reasons, positive and
mm-hmm,
negatives. Um, Reflective because I think now, so as I mentioned, I do work for the Pennsylvania Department of Health.
mm-hmm,
Um, I don't know if I said my title, but anyway, I'm a public health education program and outreach coordinator.
mm,
Um, and so I do a lot of program and outreach and education
mm,
specifically for communicable diseases. And I'm working a lot with the department, but also some of our key partners in trying to raise awareness, putting our initiatives forward and making sure like these other health organizations have programs, or if they do have programs, how we can keep the people, their attendees safe.
mm,
How can we make more people aware of RSV?
mm.
Making them more aware of like these symptoms, making people more aware of flu, get vaccinated, things like that.
Yeah.
Um, I've developed coloring books, I've developed children's educational
Wow.
resources that go directly into the schools,
Yeah.
so that they know what RSV, flu, all the things are, your common cold, pneumonia, things like that. Yes, so I do that. I am trying to transition into the health policy space and do more policy advocacy work in the background, less in the community, directly in the community.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so these days have been working and filling out job applications and applying to jobs. And that in itself is a job. And that is tiring because at this point, I think I've probably submitted over 80 applications and I've had
Mm.
2 interviews.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Needless to say, those interviews did not extend beyond the
Oh.
interview. And that's okay. And that is okay. But and I say that's okay because I'm taking it as though it's not a reflection of me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a dig at me. It's not a dig at my
Mm-hmm.
character. I know what I can bring to the table. I know what I have to offer.
Mm-hmm.
Public health is in a space right now where a lot of money is moving and a lot of funding is shifting.
Yeah,
And some places probably just can't afford me. They cannot afford what I'm asking for them to pay me. And that's the route, that's how I'm taking it. You can't afford me, and that's
exactly.
okay.
Yeah.
Or, you're going through some transitions in your organizations, and right now you might be a little unsteady,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay because I require
Exactly.
stability.
Exactly.
So that's how I'm taking it. It's not a,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna take it as an ego, a
Mm-hmm.
chip to my ego, a pride to my ego, because I
Yeah.
know, wherever I land, they'll be satisfied, they'll be great, they're gonna have everything that they want.
Yeah.
Um,
I've
but
been
it,
I oh, I was gonna
oh,
say
go ahead.
for that specifically, I've been hearing a lot recently in my ear, like random places, of just like for every rejection, that's a secret blessing.
Yes,
And I've resonated with that. As I get older, that resonates more and more and more. But it's like, in what you were saying about it's not a reflection of me and my character or an ego decreaser. It's more about I know what my worth is and I
yes,
know what I can provide in the experience I have. And it's okay if you can't afford me. I will find
yes,
someone who can. It may take
yes.
time, but it's okay. And I love that mindset because recently, and I'm going off a tangent, but recently I went to or I wasn't on vacation, but I was out of town. And this lady, I was explaining to her what I was doing in public health, and this another
Hmm.
black lady, and she was like, I need you to know, like, what are all of like the things you're thinking of doing after you get your master's? I was like, well, my plans are just to get a job and try to work with an entry level. And she's like, I need you to understand that all the work and dedication that you've had, you should not be applying for entry level positions. I was like, what do you mean by that? Because I told her like I went to grad school straight out of undergrad, don't have very much experience, all that great stuff. She's like, but you need to realize that you have 2 degrees. And I was like,
Yes,
oh. And like the gravity when she said that, I was a little dismissive when she said it at first. When I started reflecting on it, I was like, oh wow. She's like, you need to understand there are people within a certain position that may have a lot less qualification for you and are getting like higher level entry positions that you are doing. And I need you to
yes,
know that you can aim for those things and you can give them all of the work and the effort that you have, just don't feel like you're ruling yourself out because of the fact that you don't have work experience, but you have the knowledge. That's the point you're trying to get. So what you were saying,
yes,
that connected to me to that conversation.
yes, yes.
Yes.
And I will also say I agree with her wholeheartedly. I do not disagree with her
Mm-hmm.
because you getting your master's, like there's still work that you're putting in to
Mm-hmm.
get your master's. You know what I mean? Like we had to
Yeah.
do an internship. That's work. The research that we're doing, that's work. Your capstone projects, that's work. When on these job applications, when they ask me to submit a writing sample, I'm submitting my capstone paper. I'm submitting my
Right.
capstone presentation because that's real research. That's real work that I have done that I like, and it
Mm-hmm.
shows. And I explained to them my contributions. This is the part of the project that I led, and this is what my
Mm-hmm.
responsibilities were. And that aligns with what you're
Yes.
asking, right?
Yes.
Um, and that is work. Maybe that was free labor because you're paying Emory and Rollins to
Exactly.
do the work to
Free
submit.
labor and free
So
stress.
yes, wholeheartedly agree with her. And I think oftentimes, and I'm gonna say this to you, not necessarily on the pot for the podcast, but to you specifically, I think like as Black women, we are told to we're often told to go where we can.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes that may feel like entry level positions because It
Mm.
seems like something we can like sometimes those higher level positions may seem a little out of reach for us because we don't meet everything
Mm-hmm.
that they're looking for. But
Yes.
it's time, and that's something that I am learning and part of my reflective, right? Like I'm going where I
Mm-hmm.
want to grow. I'm not going where
Yes.
I'm meeting everything because there's not much room for me to learn.
Know that
Um,
part.
there's not a lot of challenge, there's not a lot of push. I can do this and I can do this easily. And what I have learned in my learning in my work experience is that when I can do everything and when I show them I can do everything, all of a sudden I become the person that gets all the work to get work done.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is, my all of my supervisors can tell you if you want something done, go to Ebony, she'll get it done.
Mm-mm.
Give
Hey.
me a project, I'll get it done. And as lovely as that sounds, I no longer want to be that person. I no longer
Exactly.
want to be the first person that you think of because a lot of that comes with a lack of instructions. It comes
Yes.
with a lack of
Oh,
deadlines, and all of a sudden I'm the one being rushed to get something out because you failed to communicate.
yes.
I want
Being
to be
multi. Oh,
seen. You see what I'm saying? Like I want to be
yes.
seen, I want to be respected. And
Exactly.
therefore, I no longer want to be the first person that you just hand something to get it done and busy work, you know?
Mm. Being multifaceted is so, it's a blessing, but it's a curse in some
Yes.
places. And being a person who can do it all, or being a person where they've seen that you can do it all, and given that responsibility, but not given that support.
Yes.
Oh. I
Yes.
feel that goes close to home for several reasons, but majority like the most recent reason I could say, and I feel like the pre questionnaire, it we don't have to talk about that. But anyway, it feels so close to home because I used to work as a clinical technician at a
Hmm.
clinic. And
So what do you mean
I
you don't have any work experience when you're telling me right now you just worked at a
Okay.
clinical technician?
Okay. I see what you mean there. I see what you mean. I mean, like, actually, no, that's actually now that I think about it. Now that I've come to Rollins, it's built up. I have experience. Anyway, but
Yes.
I going back to that experience, like there were times where I would physically be exhausted and not understand. Like, I am such I knew I was a good asset to the team. I knew I was working there for
Yes.
2 years, and mind you, I was also doing school at the same time. I was in my junior and senior year of college, and I was like to myself, like, I'm doing so much, but yet so much pressure was on me. And maybe it's
Mhm.
and like little now doing like back reflection, like there were little things that like now I've addressed within like mental health and like how I work and how
Yeah.
I speak to myself that have been a lot better and like explains a lot of the things I was going through at the time. But you saying like me being always the person that people can go to for understanding, for help, for clarity. Like I was one of those, like I was one of those texts where it was like, "Hey Jordan, I have a question. Can I ask you a question?" Because I was one of those people too. And it's like having that sense of understanding that I don't want to be that person anymore. I want to be the person where it's like, oh, if you request that person's presence, you have to come with this, and this. You have to
Yes.
come with the expectation, know what their worth is, knowing how much they're able to give you, as well as being a person where you need to communicate the expectations and the things that they need to get their part done correctly.
Correct.
So I completely kind of resonate with that because too many times that's happened to me. And I feel like now the recuperating people pleaser in me is trying to like not going back into those like ways of thinking or that skill set of like always trying to please people. And I feel like that specific experience made me not mean, but it made me say no a lot or
Yeah,
give
firm.
or yeah, be
Boundaries.
more firm. Exactly. Create boundaries. And I'm no longer working there no more, and I've never been so stress-free. Well, I've been stressed out, but
Yes.
that particular environment made my heart just literally beat 100 seconds per minute because there's always something to do. But I loved like
Yes.
the I liked the busyness, but it was also not good for mental health. So in general, I will always have those experiences and I'll always cherish them and I'll always be reflective by them. But that resonated a lot to me, a lot. And not to rush you, but I'm gonna go to the second segment. I'm sorry. I feel like we've already touched on this a lot, but this is the diving deeper segment. And this
Okay.
question is gonna be about what is the most difficult part of being in public health or being a person of color? And I know we could go on and on and on about that because it is a very loaded, but also have so many complexities within it. But do with what you will with that question.
Okay. Being the most difficult part of being, I'm gonna add up. I'm going to speak about being a Black woman in public
Yes,
health
of
spaces.
course. Of course.
Also, in most of the environments that I have worked in, I have been the youngest on the team. And age plays a factor and plays a role in a lot of
It
things.
does a lot.
Um,
Mm,
I believe the most difficult part is carrying the strong Black woman trope.
mm,
Um, and again, being the person that always gets it done.
mhm,
Um, I think because it's this expectation that you can just do it and do it all and it's going to be done the right way because that's how you've shown up in the work
mhm.
world, right? That's how you've shown up in the workspace. You
Yeah.
are the problem solver, or for me, I am the problem solver.
Mhm,
But when it gets to the points and times where I may need help, I don't know how to ask for help, or people don't know how to help me because I've always been the one to figure something out.
mhm,
um I think that also, and being that there's kind of this expectation that you don't speak up, um or you don't speak up and push back, rather.
mm,
I think speaking up is great and speaking up is always applauded and is always wanted, right? It's always celebrated, but it's until you push back, because once you push back, people are uncomfortable.
mhm,
um and I have no problem making people uncomfortable.
mm,
But being, in my experience, oftentimes being the only Black woman in the room and being
mhm,
the youngest Black woman in the room,
mhm,
a lot of times with that pushback and that discomfort, people where I have provided it, right, it was not always perceived well.
mm.
And so this is actually something that I've been talking to my therapist about.
Yay,
Because for me,
therapy.
yay, when I show up
Yes.
in the outside world, I'm a very direct person. I'm not rude, I'm not mean, but I'm very direct.
Mhm,
Because I don't like confusion, right?
mm,
And I ask a lot of questions to make sure I'm
mhm.
understanding and to make sure we're on the same page.
Right.
And the workspace that has been an issue or became an issue at a point in time for me, because
Mhm,
white people, and especially older white people, do not know how to take that always. There's a
mhm.
personality thing. Not
Yeah.
everybody can handle directness.
Mhm,
And so then instead of people learning how to adapt to my style, I'm taught to tone it down.
mhm.
I'm taught to become more digestible.
Exactly.
Um, and a lot of times it's not, ideas that I may have, it's not always welcomed or received well, but it's not because it's not a good idea, but because people don't know how to take what I'm dishing out or what I'm saying, or they don't know how to work with me, right?
Yeah.
So instead of, and it becomes a my issue that I have to deal
Mm,
with to figure out.
exactly.
Now I have to learn how to navigate in this space instead of
Mm,
everybody learning how to navigate in this space together. You know what I mean?
exactly.
Excuse me. People always assume the worst.
Mhm,
Um, I had a
mhm,
conversation with my supervisor one time where I felt like I was given a project. There was a direct ask. I executed it. And then it was like little nitpicky things. And then all of a sudden a deadline appeared. A deadline that I was not aware of from the beginning of this
Mm.
project.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like you're asking me to get something done 24 hours later, but it's all of these things that need to get done that was never talked about, was never
Exactly.
provided. So
Mm-hmm.
when I speak up and I say, "Hey, I don't work like that. I don't work under those conditions."
Yeah.
If this was a deadline and if especially a hard deadline, I should have known this from the beginning.
Beforehand. Mm-hmm.
If this is all of if these are all of the things that go into it, I should have known that from the beginning.
Exactly.
Now all of a sudden I'm a frustrated black woman. Whoa.
Or combative.
But her exact words were, "Oh, it sounds like you're a bit frustrated because I'm explaining to you how I don't work." Yes, I am frustrated because here it is
Mm-hmm.
3 o'clock on a Friday, and you're saying this, and this needs to get done, and this
Right.
was due 5 o'clock on a Tuesday prior. Whoa, when was that ever,
Exactly.
And instead of
Mm-hmm.
saying, "Hey, you know what? Maybe I didn't communicate to you."
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I was frustrated, but let's not pretend like you would not be
We
frustrated if
exactly,
you were
or
in the
that you
same,
didn't
you know what I
communicate
mean?
properly. Yeah.
Right. Like if this was you, you would not be frustrated. Let us not pretend that these emotions are just so out of control. But because I have never shown frustration in a workplace, I'm now this image, right? Like, and
Mm-hmm.
now I'm frustrated and
Yeah.
my frustration is unreasonable and you can't seem to understand.
Yeah.
So, and that has happened in previous roles, but and the main thing is there's a lack of support, especially when you're working with direct leadership. Because
Mm-hmm.
when you and your leader aren't getting along and now there's tension, who do you go to for support in this? Who's the third person? You know what I'm saying?
Especially
Like,
if the people with around that team or that community is very aligned and very supportive of that coworker or that supervisor or whoever it is. Like it's like you're put
yes.
into like a little middle ground and you're just like, who do I go to? So
Yes.
yeah.
So that has been difficult, but I'm learning now, reflective of the fact that again, a lot of places and spaces cannot afford me. And with that affordability comes with being able to afford the type of worker that I am. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to be direct. I'm going to make those direct asks. I need that of you. I need that direct communication. And if you can't operate like that, baby, we cannot work well together.
Exactly.
Um, but I think that transition in finding your footing as a Black woman and being authentic to yourself and not trying to become more digestible in a workspace, for me, that has been extremely challenging.
Mm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
Thank you for that answer. It was it like we already talked about how all this resonates. But anyway, um you may not have an answer for this question, and that's completely fine. And it's a very valid answer. Like having not an answer is a valid answer. Where do you see yourself in your work in the future? It's a very low, I know. It's a loaded
Um,
question, and it's like, Jordan, do you not know how this world works at this very moment? And I get
Girl, it's
it.
okay. We can still dream. We can still have dreams.
We can
Even
have dreams
if,
and aspirations.
exactly, even if we don't know how the world's going to change, you can still dream
Mm-hmm.
and adjust your dreams as
Exactly.
need be. That's the point of a dream. It's not set in
Exactly.
stone.
Mm-hmm.
In the future, I think realistically, I would like to be either some leader of some advocacy organization. Wow, I never thought about this or like actually said it out loud. Um,
Yay.
some like policy advocacy, and
Mm-hmm.
some sort of leadership role, right? Or maybe later down the line, who knows, I might be sitting in Congress. Um,
Hey. Oh my gosh.
but
Yes.
yes, definitely like making the changes, being a part of those important conversations, sitting at that
Mm-hmm.
table, forcing's kind of strong, maybe encouraging
Mm-hmm.
other change makers and
Mm-hmm.
policymakers and leaders to do what we know works best, to believe in public health,
Mm-hmm.
advocating for the people, definitely putting the people first and foremost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yes, I see that for you too. I'm putting it out there in the world. God already knows what's happening. If you do believe in God. If you don't, that's fine. But he already knows what's going on. Anyway, next segment. Here's what you need to know. This segment is with your experience in your years of in your work over the years. My goodness. Is there
Mhm.
anything you want students to know about entering public health, being a student right now that's doing public health, or someone who is out who's newly graduated and it's just like you kind of already shared that a little bit, but who is just like trying to navigate the world of public health and also their career in the future?
Um, oh, there's so many things. One, flexibility.
Yes.
Um, Two, public health is not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Three, you yourself are not going to change the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and by that, let me elaborate. Hold on. Let me
Mm-hmm.
elaborate.
No, that's
As
fine
a
because
single individual with no support, you cannot change the world. You have to have
exactly.
allies, you have to have support, you have to know your enemies,
Yes, you
and
do.
you have to be cool. I might even use the word friends. You have to be friends with your enemies in public health because you need to know where they stand. You need to
Mm.
know who they are close with, and you have to figure out what they stand for. So that way, when you see them outside doing the things that you know should not be done, it's not a surprise to you. Bless you. And you need to know how to plan for that, right? When you are caught off guard, and you don't know where people are going and where they're coming from and how they have the support that they have, like you need to figure out how people are getting funding for the things because you need the funding for the things. And if your enemies are, having freaking caviar and steak, and you need to figure out where that money's coming from so you're not sitting there eating ramen noodles, right? You need you see what I'm saying? um Yes. So I think it's important to, and you need to, again, be cool with your enemies because at some point you're going to need their alliance.
Mm. Yes. I'm writing down
Uh,
a potential title. One second. You need cool to be cool with their alliance. Oh my gosh, I like that.
yes.
You're also
Uh,
the first person, sorry, just to point out, you're the very first person to say something like that. And like in my brain, like it's just in general of like be friends with the enemies.
yes.
Be knowledgeable about your enemies. Be knowledgeable about the fact that these people are in this space, know what that they do, how they do it, why they do it, and who they consult about it. That
Yes.
that is
Because
I'm gonna
once you
take
know, you are
exactly.
now the smartest person in the room, right? And I'm gonna say that because, and I will say HPM is what taught me this because a lot of times when we make our policy recommendations, we have to think about or like a policy pitch or proposal or a program pitch or proposal. We have to know what potential oppositions are going to say to us. So when that comes, we're prepared for an answer. We already know what you was going to say before you even said a booking. We prepared. And that is
Right.
how you get people to shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the times opposition, when they come to you, what they're opposing and their differences is because they think you haven't thought it through.
Mm,
They think they have a gotcha moment, right? Because and now all of a sudden they think you're dumb, you don't know what you're talking about. No, I do know what I'm talking about. And I thought about that. And here's my answer and here's my rebuttal. Now you sit with that information because
mm-hmm.
you thought I was unprepared.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have nothing to, you have no reason to oppose other than the fact that you don't like me and my stance.
Right.
But the facts are the facts and the evidence the evidence.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, that I feel like I had more to say, but um I think it's also important to know as much as we don't want to say it, public health is still a business.
Mm-hmm.
And it deserves to be operated as such. We do live in a capitalist society. But there are still good businesses out there. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think the business of public health right now is good, or I should say is the best. But I do think, I'm seeing a lot of people talk about like, or at least young public health professionals, and young public health students, like getting in the business of public health to dismantle the business and healthcare shouldn't be a business and this, that, and the third.
Mm,
I
but it
disagree.
is.
And
But
it
it is.
is. And it
That's
is. And we
that
have
is the
to
one
treat
thing
it
I've
as
learned.
such. Yes. And we have to treat it as such and we have to recognize it as such. The thing
Mm-hmm.
is not every business is a bad business. And we get into the public health space to make it a good business, to make it a great
Mm-hmm.
business. And that is okay. But we have to get comfortable with the idea and accepting the fact that public health is a business.
Mm-hmm. It is. And I've learned, I would say I learned that in our HBM class, is that everything, whether we like it or not, everything is for profit, specifically in the US, specifically.
Yes.
And
Even
that
nonprofits.
even nonprofits are for profits. And also people don't, or at least like the healthcare system doesn't operate in a preventative mindset. They just operate on a treatable mindset. And
Yes.
that because of that, you have to figure out one, choose your battles. And two, if you go in a space where it's like, oh, I'm dismantling, I'm taking down this, that person, and I'm no more, no more this and that. Like, yes, I understand the intention behind it, and I understand that you don't want it, and it's unfair, and all these things. But unfortunately, we live in a system in a world where that is what it is. And it's not to say like, oh, it is what it is, so deal with it. But it's like someone's, and actually, I learned this via a TV show, but you have to understand how to work around those things,
Yes.
how to go into that little crack, that little point, that little protocol, and twist it up, turn it to make
Yes.
it benefit you and the people you are working for. Because
Correct.
you can't, and it's not like you can't change policy, because policy change is very possible. But in the time
Yes.
that you're in, and in the circumstance that you're in, you have to realize that you have to maneuver, just like how
Yes.
everyone else wants to maneuver around you and be a little, a little, what is the word? I'm not saying sneaky, sneaky.
Yes.
You sometimes gotta move sneaky too. And there's nothing
Yes.
wrong with that. And I feel like your reasoning for being sneaky could be for a greater purpose and a greater outcome and could be more impactful to people. And it's just all about how you go about it and how you go about it in
Yes.
and appropriately and safely and lawfully, hopefully.
Yes.
So I would say that honestly, it's kind of going like into the segment, the last one that we have, but it's like thinking about, okay, if we want to dismantle, figure out what needs to be dismantled, figure out what are little things that we can change, incorporate, add on to things. So it's
Yes.
I feel like in HPM, I feel like it's really about softening the blow of certain things. So if there's someone, well, you can be a judge of
Yes.
that. You
Yes
can
and
be a judge.
no.
I I guess I guess the analogy I was kind of going with is like if there is someone that's hitting you with like a bat, it's about how many pillows you can put in front of yourself so that you don't get
Yes.
hurt, you know? And for some
Interesting.
people, they may have no pillows, and some people may have several pillows. And it's about, I guess you would say, equity and equality, having the same amount of pillows and people still getting that benefit. So that's my 2 cents on that. But also give your cent 2 cents on that too.
Um, I think I do agree with you. I would also challenge, I don't necessarily feel like you have to be sneaky. I think that you can move with integrity and you can move
Mm,
how you moving very loudly.
mm,
I think that a lot of times even when you are very much vocal about how you want to go about things, because
mm,
people doubt so much, people just may not believe you're going to do what it is that you're going to do. But you
mm,
said your intentions from the beginning. So we cannot, once you said your intentions from the beginning, we cannot be surprised that things are happening the way that they're happening. You know what I
mm.
mean?
Yeah.
Um, I think that I do think that there are ways to dismantle some systems. And how you said it's about getting in there. And I think that also goes back to learning your enemies. You need to know
Hmm.
how. a broken system or the system that you dislike so much is able to has been able to sustain for so long as it
Mm-hmm.
has. We have the facts, we have the evidence, we know that it may not be working in the best, we know that it is doing harm. And I feel like in policy, I've learned that there are lobbyist groups that are going to continue to push these broken systems forward because there's benefits for some people. And we
Mm-hmm.
need to know how these people benefit and how in our proposal, again, what it is that they're going to lose and how we are trying to put whatever it is that we're trying to put forward, how that can then
Mm-hmm.
replace and people can get what it is that to be able to get the support that the opposing side had and
Mm.
as strong of a foundation, we need to know all their key players so we can find our key players on the same magnitude so that the system that the system and the things that we put forward can sustain as long as it needs to last the same way that the broken one did previously. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Um, so I don't want to say that it's impossible to dismantle things. I think that it is very much possible. You just have to play it smart. And policy taught me
Mm.
that. Um, Soften the blows, yes, and also no. Um, I think in policy we have a lot of the difficult and hard conversations that people don't want to have.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Agreed.
and a lot of times I think in policy we have to hit really, really hard. And I'm not sure, bless you. I'm not sure if that's just like in the classroom space. I haven't really had much experience in the outside space, but even in the outside space, I truly believe that behind closed doors, those hard blows are happening in those private rooms and in those private conversations. Um, because in policy, we're taught like, here's the program that I want. Here's how I know it's going to save people. You know, we've introduced great programs and here's the recommendations and here's how many people lives are going to save and this is going to decrease this rate of mortality rates, this drug addiction rate, this whatever the case, STD rates, right? And this program is great because we're saving lives. And someone is going to say, well, why should I pay for it if those are the choices somebody else is making?
Mm-hmm.
Or why do I care about how many of those people live?
Mm-hmm.
What does that have to do with me?
Right.
Where's the money coming from? This is great. This is beautiful. But where's the money coming from?
Mm.
Should I pull money from this childhood development program to invest into this hospital program?
Yeah.
So now, we have less resources for children with disabilities. Is that
Mm-hmm.
what you're telling me?
Right.
Or, so those are the kind of questions that we were asked inside of the classroom from our professors,
Mm.
from people that they work with in the or people that they know in the policy space. These are conversations that we're having. This is
Mm-hmm.
how we're being taught to think because realistically, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah,
That's a difficult conversation.
it is.
I'm not saying, children with the disabilities, they need those resources. They need the money. Okay, well, if I don't take money from there, where am I taking money from?
Mm.
Now, if I say
How
the
will it be funded?
police,
Huh.
when I say the police, everybody, well, who's going
Oh
to
my
protect and
God,
serve the
uproar,
community?
uproar.
Well, they can still protect and serve the community, but do they need that? What was it?
A
The
hundred
the
thousand
training center?
dollars.
Do they
Do we need
do
that?
they
Do
need these new Teslas? Do
they
they?
giving people Teslas now?
You didn't see these?
No. I'm
Oh,
very in and out
girl.
of tune of things, I swear.
They're
Really?
the police officers have Teslas now. They're new. They're coming out, so you may not have seen it yet, but they are on the rise. They have Teslas. They have Teslas.
You're kidding. I'm sorry.
But also a
That,
lot of
any,
that is coming from like private investors who are investing
yeah,
into. So when you
exactly.
have and that's what I'm saying. So when you have, it's not always the government, right? People are just personally invested and believe in such
In this
cause. They're
stuff.
investing, and with a private investor, they say, I specifically want my money to be used for X, Y, and Z. And that is what the
Yeah,
money has to be used for. When you
yeah.
don't have private investors investing into public health, we're not getting the outcomes that we want, nor
Mm,
can we say take funding from there. We can say
mm.
take funding from the police. Okay, the government stops funding the police, but these private investors are still funding them. So
Exactly.
they're
And
not
it's a
lacking
lot
for
of
real.
money. Exactly.
Thank you. So we have to think about that. How can we get the
Yeah.
people on our side to put as much money and investment and time and energy into public health the way that they are for the things that they care about?
Right. Okay. Wow. They giving people Teslas. Anyway.
Girl,
Oh, okay. Going into our last and final segment. What do you want the people, well, excuse me, what do you want to say to the people? This is just, is there anything, and first of all, thank you for all of the comments and all of the things you've said today. They've been really impactful and also think they needed to be said. Um, is there anything within your life, your professional career or life or work life you want to point out, promote, or communicate to our listeners today?
in my life,
Professional, it don't have to be personal.
um, oh, I think
Unless you want it to be
hire me.
personal, but that's up to
If
you.
anybody's
So,
hiring me.
hey,
You know.
hire Ebony, hire Ebony. She's expensive, but hire
Um,
her.
you know, I think, hmm, hmm, um, for me, my
Hmm.
professional, let's see, personal, um, oh, I guess kind of going off of what I kind of talked about earlier, but yeah, I think right now in my life I'm in a very transformational space.
Yeah.
I think that's important for people to know. It's important that as you go through, you get new accolades, right? You collect these degrees
Hmm.
like it's candy. But in these changes and in these different spaces that I've been in, I realized that it is time for me as a person, personally and professionally, that I do need to change.
Hmm.
And I am taking the time to find out who I want to become.
Hmm.
Um, I have a master's degree now. I
Hey.
have 6 years of work experience. I have done many things in life, and it's time that I learn how to reflect that. It's
Hmm.
time that I learn how to now walk in a way that allows me to become the woman that I want to be in these spaces.
Hmm.
Um, I said, for my future, I want to be a leader of some sort of advocacy organization. I need to know what that means. I need to
Exactly.
know how to do that. What kind of woman
That
do I
takes.
need to be? How do I show up in those spaces? I need to study that, and I'm
Hmm.
going to become her. So I can do that and be
You
successful
are
in that role.
her. You are her.
Yes, but there's always growth, and that's okay.
Yes, that is true.
you know?
That is true.
And so getting comfortable with the idea of, yes, I am her. I am her in 10 years. I'm not her right now, and I'm okay with that because I'm going to
Mm.
do what I need to do to get there.
Hmm.
I am not going to become her doing the same things that I'm doing now that I was doing
Mm.
yesterday.
Yeah, very true.
It's time for growth.
It's time to evolve. Yes.
Yes. And that is okay. And I encourage people to evolve. It's okay to evolve. It's okay to change your mind.
Yes,
It's
yes. Go
okay
through
to, once you have,
metamorphosis if you want to.
that's the point of getting more education, right? That's the point of being
Yes,
smart. You get education to evolve. Your thoughts, things,
exactly.
feelings evolve, they change, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you know you are a smart noodle because you are
Exactly.
reflective. you know, you took the information and you're doing stuff with it, and that's the point.
Yeah. I saw a TikTok the other day of someone saying, like, I want to be disgustingly educated. And I'm like, you know what?
Disgust.
Disgustingly educated to the point where it's like, and it's not like to one up people or anything like that, but it's just like to have that underneath your belt that you're disgustingly
Yes.
educated and that you have so much knowledge and like you can give your little tidbits and
Yes.
knowledge points out to people and it just be like, oh, like.
I want
Ah,
to be like, and with that, I want to be hated. Like, I want people to hate me
yes, because you're
bad.
doing
Like,
something right.
you
You're doing
know, as
something
much as they
right.
hate Michelle Obama, they're finna hate me. They're
I,
finna hate me.
when I heard
Yes,
that, I saw that the other day on my on my For You page. I was like, the audacity, and you look like that?
girl.
You look like that,
I'm
you
living
sound
my
like
best
that, you're built like
unbothered
that.
life, and some
And
dirt
I'm like,
in
people want to
between
hate
my
on
toes is
people want to
vomiting
hate
when
from
you say my
outside of the
name.
club when you can't get
Girl,
in.
yes,
Gosh,
that's
if that
me.
is not, and not to promote Chris Brown, but anyway, because anyway, that's not a conversation for today. It's not a conversation for today.
But
But
yes, I want to be disgustingly educated. I want to be hated so much, like vomit when you say my name.
exactly, like, ugh, like, exactly.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes,
Okay. First of all, thank you so much for your time and for speaking to us about all of the gems that you have dropped on us. Actually, you've thrown on us because it's really throwing, actually. I feel like you talking to us today is literally exactly what I envision students to have. Because and especially Black students, because it's like I feel like we always have a mindset of we need to get money, need to get money, we need to have this, we need to have that. And that's very important
yes,
because
do it.
it's very important. Do it. But it's also like have this perspective around it. Be aware of the spaces you're in, being aware of the fact that we are within disadvantage. But that didn't stop us then, it don't stop us now. And at this point, it's like do what we need to do, but do it within sound in mind and body and relax and do it within a safe balance. That is the
Yes,
one thing I always want to encourage, whether students or people or general or guests, just to have balance. Because things, excuse me language, but shit can get real crazy real quick. So
yes.
yes. But anyway, thank you so much for telling your story and speaking with us and taking the time out today to talk to us. And congratulations on being a Rollins alumni. Woo! Being an Emory alumni. Woo!
Ooh, they
You're
need to pay
forever.
me.
I was gonna say you're forever in the system. You're forever in the system. I don't know how I feel about that, but it's okay. It's all right. And you know what? Well, actually, I'm not going to say this. I'll say it after the recording. But I guess to promote any upcoming ABPHS events, we do have a alumni career and networking fair coming up within a couple of months at the beginning of August, I believe, or September. So keep an eye out on the details of that. And Ebony, I'll probably reach out to you because we have been trying to figure out different like people to get to our fair. So hopefully, do you live in Georgia?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll We'll talk about that after the recording. Anyway, I will wish everyone a beautiful week. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful, beautiful week and stay dry outside. It has been raining for a very long time, and it don't seem like it's summer, but it's hot and humid. That's what Georgia is, unfortunately. So, but if you're not listening from Georgia, if you're listening from outside the state or wherever you are, thank you for tuning in and listening to us. And thank you for listening to us yapping. Okay. Thank you guys
Where
so
can people find
much.
your podcast?
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. People can find the podcast on our Instagram. It's going to be on our LinkedIn tree or link tree, and it's on YouTube. So if you do research
Um,
Association of Black Public Health Students, you'll find our podcast episodes, and you can find us there. Also, we have a group me. If you're not on our group me, go to our Instagram and direct message us. Hey, I want to be on a group me, or it's on our LinkedIn tree, and you can do that as well. But anyway, thank you for reminding me about that. I completely forgot. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening and have a beautiful week. Thank you guys. Bye bye. Thank you for listening to the Let's Get Into It podcast. Remember to stay informed, stay inspired, and we'll see you on the next episode.